Ben Affleck once said, "I like my family, my kids, and my life. I just wish it were more private." It was a simple statement, but it quietly revealed the truth of a man who had spent decades under a microscope he never asked for. Fame gave him everything: money, awards, a global reputation. But it also took something from him: the right to be imperfect without the world tearing him apart. For years, the public believed they understood the story of his divorce from Jennifer Garner. The media painted it in black and white. He drank. She had enough. They separated and co-parented. A clean, digestible narrative. But in 2025, nearly 7 years after the divorce was finalized, Affleck finally broke his silence. And what he revealed shattered Hollywood's long-held assumptions. The truth wasn't about alcohol, affairs, or the tabloid scandals that fed late-night gossip. The real reason their marriage ended was something he had hidden for years, something Garner protected even when their relationship collapsed. Affleck's confession not only reshaped public understanding of their split, it revealed why, even now, Garner remains one of the few people he trusts completely. To understand the weight of what he said, you need to understand where his story began. Ben Affleck was born on August 15, 1972, in Berkeley, California, at Alta Bates Summit Medical Center. His full name, Benjamin Guzar Affleck Bolt, carried both family history and a hint of old-world artistry. His mother, Kristen Bolt, was a Harvard-educated teacher. His father, Timothy Bias Affleck, was a dreamer chasing the bright lights of acting and the written word. But dreams rarely paid the rent, and with a new baby in his arms, Tim struggled to hold steady work. When Ben was just 3 months old, the family moved across the country to Massachusetts, settling first in Falmouth, then Cambridge. In 1975, Ben's younger brother Casey was born. The Affleck home was filled with books, scripts, and the soft echo of rehearsals. Chris read Shakespeare aloud at night. Tim lugged home tired stacks of theater manuscripts. Creativity lived in their walls, but so did instability. Tim's drinking became a quiet shadow over the household. Jobs came and went. Carpentry, custodial work at Harvard, odd gigs here and there. Every few years, the family packed their belongings again, cycling through rentals like a family searching for a place that felt permanent. But amidst the chaos, something in Ben's imagination bloomed. He spent hours backstage in Boston theaters, mesmerized by actors transforming into other people. He wasn't watching for entertainment. He was studying. By 1983, when Ben was 11, the cracks in his parents' marriage finally split wide open. Chris left, taking the boys to a small apartment in Cambridge. Money was painfully tight. Chrissy's teacher's salary barely stretched through the month. There were food stamps, rummage sale clothes, and a constant tension between survival and dreams. But she never let the arts dissipate. Even in the toughest moments, she pushed Ben toward performing. Sensing that acting was more than a hobby, it was his way forward. Ben's career started early. At just 7 years old, he was cast in The Voyage of the Mimi, a PBS series that aired nationwide. It wasn't the typical children's show. It mixed drama with real scientific expeditions. Ben had to memeize dense dialogue about sonar technology and marine biology. Millions of school children watched him, even if he barely understood the impact it would have on his future. But while his face appeared on screens across America, his personal life was shifting beneath his feet. That same year, his parents finalized their divorce. Weekends were split between two homes, one cluttered with Tim's unfinished writing projects, the other held together by Chris's exhausted determination. 2 years later, at 14, Ben landed a role in Wanted, The Perfect Guy, an ABC special about identity and peer pressure. By then, he'd grown adept at slipping into characters. He knew how to adapt, how to shift, how to blend in, a skill born not from acting classes, but from a childhood spent navigating adults' emotional landmines. Meanwhile, home life grew more complicated. Tim moved to Los Angeles, chasing one last attempt at screenwriting success. Chris experimented with homeschooling Ben, hoping the flexibility would help him balance acting and school. But it made him feel isolated. Acting wasn't just a passion anymore, it was the only thing that made him feel seen. By 17, Ben had more experience on set than many adult actors. In 1989, he appeared in The Flash, navigating stunts and professional sets with practiced ease. That same year, he played a younger version of Kevin Costner's character in Field of Dreams. The scenes were brief, but they demanded precision. Ben studied Costner's movements frame by frame, determined not to break the illusion. In 1984, long before fame, red carpets, and Oscars, Ben met Matt Damon at Cambridge Ringe and Latin School. They were 12-year-old kids who loved acting and dreamed of something bigger than the life they knew. They became inseparable, writing skits, rehearsing scenes, and imagining a future in Hollywood even though they barely understood what that meant. As teens, they moved to Los Angeles with almost no money. They shared tiny apartments, lived off ramen, and auditioned for every role they could. Most auditions ended in rejection, but every no pushed them to create their own opportunity. Ben tried college, briefly attending the University of Vermont in 1991, but academia never fit him. He left after one semester. Acting was the only thing that made sense. And so, with determination and desperation, they began writing what would become Good Will Hunting. The early drafts of Good Will Hunting were rough. What started as a 40-page idea slowly transformed into a deep emotional story shaped by their real experiences. Over 3 years, they rewrote the script repeatedly, incorporating advice from legends: Terrence Malick, William Goldman, Rob Reiner. Each mentor helped strip away unnecessary fluff until only the emotional core remained, a working-class genius struggling between obligation and freedom. Selling the script was its own saga. Castle Rock initially bought it but demanded changes that would have gutted the story. The deal nearly collapsed until Kevin Smith stepped in and passed it to Miramax. Suddenly, the film had a heartbeat again. Filming began in 1997 under director Gus Van Sant. Affleck played Chucky Sullivan, the loyal best friend. To nail the South Boston accent, he spent weeks studying locals, determined not to sound like an outsider. The emotional centerpiece, a scene where Chucky tells Will the best part of his day is hoping he's gone, was largely improvised. Damon broke down crying. The entire crew went silent. In those few minutes, Affleck poured his entire life, every fear, every dream, every hope, into a single monologue. In 1998, they won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Two boys who once wrote in basements now stood on Hollywood's grandest stage thanking their mothers for believing in their delusional dreams. Few knew they'd once turned down $1 million advance because they refused to surrender creative control. It was a gamble that changed their lives. After Good Will Hunting, Affleck's career exploded. He filmed Armageddon, enduring grueling 16-hour days strapped into malfunctioning zero-gravity harnesses. He worked through physical pain, exhaustion, and impossible expectations. Fame was no longer a dream. It was a demand. Relationships didn't survive the pressure. His romance with Gwyneth Paltrow faded under the spotlight. Then came Pearl Harbor, a massive production interrupted when a stunt plane crashed, injuring crew members. By 2003, films like Paycheck flopped, and he later admitted he regretted turning down The Matrix. Behind the scenes, his drinking escalated. On the set of Dogma, he hid flasks in his costume. He entered rehab in 2001, fully aware of his family's history with alcoholism. He spoke openly about addiction long before Hollywood embraced honesty. But the public rarely heard the full story. In 2007, Affleck made his directorial debut with Gone Baby Gone. Instead of polished studio sets, he filmed at over 85 real Boston locations in just 10 days. He wanted grit, authenticity, truth, and that commitment kicked off the era of Affleck the filmmaker. By the time Affleck married Jennifer Garner, he was already carrying decades' worth of pressure, trauma, unresolved family wounds, and a lifetime of public scrutiny. But the real reason their marriage ended, the reason he finally admitted in 2025, wasn't addiction alone. Affleck revealed that he'd been battling crippling, undiagnosed depression and a form of compulsive behavior that he hid even from those closest to him. He said, "I wasn't present. I wasn't myself. I wasn't emotionally available in ways a marriage needs." Jen carried the weight of two people. Garner knew the truth long before the world did. She kept his struggles private. She shielded him from tabloids. She protected his dignity, even when it cost her everything. Affleck said, "Jen didn't leave because of drinking. She left because I couldn't face my own mind. She saved me by stepping away. And that is why they remain close. Why she still helps him. Why he still calls her the smartest, kindest, most protective person I've ever known." The divorce wasn't about betrayal or failure. It was about survival. It was about a man who had spent decades trying to outrun the ghosts of instability, expectation, fame, addiction, depression, and losing the battle until someone he loved forced him to face it. Affleck's confession didn't just rewrite a Hollywood narrative. It revealed the humanity behind the headlines. And for the first time in years, the world finally understood the truth. Ben Affleck didn't lose Jennifer Garner. He lost himself, and she is the one who helped him find his way back. Ben Affleck cast his own brother, Casey Affleck, in the lead and leaned into natural lighting, letting the raw texture of Boston tell its own story. The result was a film made for just a few $1,000,000 that ended up pulling in $34.6 million worldwide. The ending didn't offer comfort. It left audiences torn, debating morality long after the credits stopped rolling. It wasn't just a strong debut. It was a warning shot. Affleck was serious, and that seriousness pulsed through every frame. He didn't fake the police work either. He brought in real Boston cops, especially those who had lived through child abduction cases. He grilled them on everything, from interrogation room layouts to the psychological tactics used to break down suspects. That attention to authenticity showed. When a child goes missing in the film, you feel the dread in your bones. Still, Affleck protected his young actors. He hired trained coaches to guide them safely through difficult emotional scenes. The realism didn't come from chaos. It came from control. Even the squad cars were real. The movie wasn't glossy. It was lived in, and that grounded honesty earned it a reputation for brutal realism over clean, polished storytelling. By 2010, Affleck returned with The Town, a heist story woven with loyalty, desperation, and generational history. The film cost $37 million and earned $154 million worldwide, a staggering 125% return for a slow-burn crime drama. But luck had nothing to do with it. When the FBI refused to let him film inside actual Charlestown vaults, the production rebuilt them bolt for bolt on sound stages. The actors didn't guess how bank robbers behaved. They learned from real ones. One of the biggest sequences, the Fenway Park heist, took 10 days to shoot. The tension didn't come from flashy effects. It came from the real-time ticking clock. And it showed. But The Town almost collapsed mid-production. Affleck clashed with his cinematographer over the film's visual identity. One wanted Hollywood shine. Affleck wanted Boston's bruises. Affleck fired him mid-shoot, a massive risk. He brought in Robert Elswit, the cinematographer behind There Will Be Blood. Elswit soaked the screen in moody neon and shadow, giving the film its unforgettable visual punch. Critics noticed. The story was strong, but the look made it iconic, helping the movie land a 94% Rotten Tomatoes rating. Affleck didn't stop at visuals. He took control of the sound design too, personally dropping $2 million of his own money into post-production. He wanted the gunfire to echo the way it did in real Boston robberies. So the team recorded live rounds at local ranges and built every sound effect from scratch. That authenticity paid off. The film earned an Oscar nomination for Best Sound Editing. Nothing about the movie was handed to him. Every detail was deliberate. Affleck wasn't trying to make action films. He was trying to create memories that hit the audience in the gut. By the time he put on the cape in Batman v Superman in 2016, the transformation wasn't just emotional. It was physical. He bulked up to 215 pounds by eating 3,000 calories a day and training relentlessly. Heavy deadlifts, brutal cardio, 5 months of discipline. He looked like Batman. But inside, Affleck was conflicted. He fought constantly with director Zack Snyder about the character's core. Snyder wanted a darker, more lethal Batman. Affleck saw him as a hero who upheld strict moral lines. The arguments were intense, and the strain seeped into the film. Some fans embraced the brooding interpretation. Others rejected it. Affleck found himself trapped between honoring the legend and respecting the director's vision. Then came Justice League, a project that should have been triumphant but became one of the darkest periods of Affleck's life. After Snyder stepped down due to personal tragedy, Joss Whedon took over. The tone shifted dramatically. The production was chaotic. Affleck was already emotionally unraveling from his divorce from Jennifer Garner, and now the film was collapsing under reshoots, rewrites, and exhaustion. He worked 18-hour days with barely any sleep. The movie became an awkward fusion of two competing visions, and Affleck later admitted it was one of the lowest points of his career. In 2017, he walked away from directing The Batman. Publicly, he said it was for personal reasons. Privately, it was survival. The darkness of the script was feeding his own internal battles. He entered rehab, fighting alcoholism and depression. The script became too heavy to live inside. Stepping away saved him. But even after quitting the role, the noise didn't stop. In 2021, a previously forgotten audio clip from a 2010 Good Morning America interview leaked. Affleck was heard angrily confronting a producer about sloppy sound quality. It was raw, unfiltered, and real. The media twisted it into another meltdown, but others saw it as a rare glimpse into the pressure he carried daily. The expectations, the labels, the narratives, none of them were his. They belonged to the world around him. That leak didn't destroy him. It humanized him. By 2023, Affleck's final appearance as Batman came in The Flash. He shot for 10 days. He earned $25 million. That paycheck said everything. The superhero genre pays well, but it rarely brings peace. Affleck was done. The suit came off, and with it, a chapter that had tested his mind, body, and soul. Fans saw a cameo. Affleck saw closure. He didn't leave angry. He left knowing he had given everything and lost pieces of himself in the process. Affleck first met Jennifer Garner in 2000 on the set of Pearl Harbor. They didn't fall in love immediately. Both were involved with other people. But in 2003, while filming Daredevil, the chemistry shifted. Garner later said he was tall, dark, and handsome. Their first official date was at a Boston Celtics game. No Hollywood flash. Just two grounded people finding comfort in each other. They married quietly on June 29, 2005, in Turks and Caicos. The ceremony was intimate, about 30 people. Affleck forgot the rings, so they used hotel key cards instead. It didn't matter. It fit them perfectly. 6 months later, their daughter Violet was born. Affleck took paternity leave, watching diaper-changing tutorials on YouTube and learning the rhythms of fatherhood. But by 2007, turbulence struck. A tabloid published allegations from nanny Christine Uzanian, claiming she had a secret relationship with Affleck. Reports of hotel visits, private messages, and meetings surfaced. Garner supposedly discovered the situation during a trip to the Bahamas. Affleck's team denied everything. Eventually, a $500,000 private settlement ended the accusations, but the damage lingered. Affleck pushed forward with The Town in 2009, balancing fatherhood and filmmaking. He researched robberies, talked to FBI agents, and brought the kids to set. Garner was pregnant again. They were holding things together, but barely. By 2015, while filming Batman v Superman, Affleck was drinking heavily. He admitted later that he drank a bottle of scotch every night to numb the pain. Their relationship had begun unraveling years earlier. On June 30, 2015, they announced their separation. Garner attended Al-Anon meetings. She tried to understand him. They tried therapy. They tried staying for the kids. But it wasn't enough. In 2018, Affleck told the world that alcoholism had destroyed their chances of reconciliation. Garner had driven him to rehab multiple times. Even exhausted, she didn't give up on him. Their divorce finalized on October 28, 2018. Affleck agreed to pay $100,000 per month in child support. They shared joint custody of Violet, Serafina, and Samuel. They chose peace over pain. In 2019, while filming The Way Back, Affleck relapsed and blacked out on set. Garner stepped in yet again. They never stopped functioning as a team for their kids. By 2025, Affleck reflected publicly on his breakup with Jennifer Lopez. She had filed for divorce on August 20th, 2024. They had separated months earlier. He said they simply grew apart and that the media pressure suffocated them. Later that year, on Jimmy Kimmel Live, he praised Garner again, calling her wonderful and crediting her for helping him get sober. Despite everything, Affleck and Garner co-parented seamlessly. They spent holidays together, attended games, and volunteered at shelters. He said co-parenting with her was the joy of his life. In October 2025, Affleck and Lopez made their first public appearance post-divorce at the New York premiere of Kiss of the Spider-Woman, a musical Lopez starred in and Affleck produced. It was awkward but honest. He praised her positivity but said Garner remained his true anchor, not romantically, but emotionally, as a lifelong partner in parenthood. Professionally, Affleck regained his momentum. In 2022, he and Matt Damon launched Artist Equity. Their first film, Air, released in 2023, earning over $90 million. Affleck said his sobriety since 2018 gave him the clarity to work with purpose again. In interviews throughout 2025, he said honesty, especially with Garner, had opened doors he never expected. Looking back, Affleck said the end of their marriage wasn't the tragedy people thought. It was a transformation. They grew apart, but they grew better. They raised strong kids. They learned hard lessons. And in the end, they built something deeper than a Hollywood romance. They built a lasting, imperfect human bond.